Today is August 22nd, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, a few things on the program today. First, on August 19th, our pro-life coalition, the Citizens to Support Michigan Women and Children, may have thrust a dagger into the heart of the pro-abortion reproductive freedom for all campaign. That's the petition drive that would put on the November ballot an amendment to the Michigan Constitution that would nullify our 1846 revised in 1931 law banning abortion throughout all 9 months of pregnancy, and would nullify or repeal every pro-life law enacted in the last 40 years. But last week, our coalition requested that the State Board of Canvassers disqualify the petition because of some errors. Oh, you'll be hearing an airplane in the background. I live too close to the airport in Kalamazoo that periodically a plane flying by, so you'll pick that up. So even though I might be distracted by it, please don't be distracted. So what are these errors, you might ask? Well, we have found at least 60 errors, typos, typing mistakes that are in that were in the actual petition. Back several months ago, there was the first version of the Reproductive Freedom for All petition had an extra "the" on the form. So the Board of Canvassers tossed it out and said it was not valid, and all the hundreds or thousands of people that had already signed it had their signatures invalidated because the form was invalid. And so we're hoping this happens again. These 60 errors, mistakes, most of them were run-on sentences. One of them had 12 words all strung together without spaces between the words. One pro-lifer called it strings of gibberish. Well, here is the petition form that we had for our dismemberment petition drive about 3 years ago. It failed, unfortunately, but on the back of this has the fine print. All this fine print on this petition. Words have meanings. And petition forms are legal documents. And if we're going to add to the Michigan Constitution an amendment to our Constitution, the wording on the form, the wording here is what goes into the Constitution. So if this were to pass, you'd have 60 mistakes in the Michigan Constitution, run-on sentences right there in the text of the Constitution. Is that how we want to run our state, with run-on sentences? I mean, where are the grammar checks? Where are the people? Where are the English majors who are making sure that this is up to snuff, that it passes muster? Well, they didn't do due diligence, and we're hoping and believing that the State Board of Canvassers will toss this out. They have until August 31st to make a final ruling on the status of the signatures, and because they submitted like 750,000 signatures, so they have until August 31st to validate that and to then assign a letter like Proposal A, Proposal B, Proposal C, like that, to vote on, because we can't print yard signs and campaign literature saying vote no on, we don't know the letter, to vote no on B, to vote no on A or C. So we have until August 31st. So we're believing that by then the State Board of Canvassers will throw it out, and in the process, the other side would have to start all over again, which would mean this would not go on the ballot in November, despite those 750,000 signatures. It would not, because the form was invalid. Okay, the developing story, we'll see how it turns out. In a related story, an Oakland County judge agreed with Governor Whitmer that our 1846/1931 pro-life law cannot be enforced, and telling county prosecutors that they cannot enforce the law. The way it would have worked is the day that the Dobbs decision overturned Roe v. Wade, our law should have taken effect immediately, whether that day, June 24th, or the following day. It should have taken effect immediately. But the courts have stepped in and said, whoa, you can't do it yet. We have to wait. And they've agreed with our pro-abortion governor that they're going to wait. And most likely it's going to go before the Michigan Supreme Court for them to make some kind of a decision. And we'll see how that develops too, because that's a story that has legs to it as well. On Saturday, an MSNBC guest stated that pro-life conservatives were, and I'm going to quote, Republican MAGA fascists, unquote. To me, fascist is a very strong word. The Nazis were fascists. They were the ones that called Jews parasites and sent them to concentration camps, where they worked or starved to death. And then most of them were then shipped to death camps, where they were gassed to death and then later incinerated. Those are the fascists, not pro-lifers. But on the other hand, sometimes when I think of the mentality of the rabid pro-abortion zealot, the ideologue who's in it to make money and has absolutely no regard for human life, these people are bordering on fascism, because they might look at an ultrasound and see nothing. An ultrasound of a baby in the womb. They see nothing. Because to them, the baby is just a piece of tissue that can be removed. They may hear a beating heart, a fetal heartbeat. Totally irrelevant to them. Because again, to these radical extremists, the baby is not a human being. It really does not exist. It just is a piece of tissue that can be removed because the mother wants to terminate her pregnancy. So, are all pro-abortion people or pro-choice people fascists? No. I really believe the vast majority of people who are pro-choice are confused and have been misled by the ideologues. There's a lot of disinformation when it comes to abortion. I think if most people actually could see an actual abortion, they would change their minds. I really do. When the doctor, especially on second trimester procedures, where the doctor has to take all these body parts and basically lay them out and kind of reconstruct them to make sure that they have all the parts out of the mother, because if anything is left inside the womb, that might cause an infection, and cause serious repercussions to the woman's health. So, no, most pro-choice people are not fascists. They are not. But do I say that some of the radicals, the extremists are? Yes, because they have absolutely no regard for human life, just like the Nazis had no regard for the Jewish life. Finally, on Saturday, the Washington Post editorial board attacked pro-life activists, saying that we were blind to the human tragedies caused by abortion restrictions in this post-Roe era. Is it a tragedy that so many women are bringing children into the world without the support and affirmation of men who have fathered these children? The out-of-wedlock birth statistics are staggering in all demographic demographic groups, but especially within the Black community, where 73% of all babies are born to single mothers. Where are the fathers? Are they marrying their girlfriends? Tragically, most of them are not. This is a tragedy. The number of single women having children. And where is their support from these men? You hear about the number of women who are in poverty because they have chosen to have children. They're unable to get a job, perhaps, or they've got issues of maybe drug addiction or some other kind of dependency. It's just a tragedy that some of these children have come into the world and don't have the support of a father or a dad. And you hear about people in prison. Most men in prison, of all races, didn't grow up with a father. They really didn't. And you have dropout rates, delinquency, drugs, crime. There's a lot of things that happen because there's not a stable father figure in the home. To me, that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. But to say that pro-lifers are blind to the tragedies of women, that is untrue. Let me continue here. The Post says the new abortion bans are done, quote, despite abundant research on the devastating impact that these policies have on Americans' well-being and livelihoods, unquote. So we, the pro-lifers, we have caused suffering to real women and real families. So what about the devastating effects that abortion has on the well-being of the baby, of the baby's livelihood? Obviously, the baby has no well-being because the baby has been killed. But this is never discussed. It is never discussed by the pro-abortion people because they do not consider the baby to be a human being. They just don't. It's just a piece of tissue. With that, I'm going to let you go. Remember, keep posted on this situation in Lansing with the State Board of Canvassers and their August 31st deadline on this petition and this referendum, because it may go down in flames because of the 60 grammatical errors that we have found on their petition form that should nullify the whole thing. With that, I'll let you go and see you next time.